Alright, today is a big day for Stick War 3 Beta. We just had a pretty big update that has changed the way you play the game, and honestly, I think it's a change for the better. Some of you may be familiar with it because it more closely resembles the older Stick Empires Flash game as well as the Stick War 2 campaign. And what it has done essentially is it has nullified the one unit multiple spell and enhancement or enchantment meta, and it is forcing players to use more units in the deck, and I believe that is an essential part of what the multiplayer should be. It promotes strategy, it promotes critical thinking, and knowing what units to build when, rather than just having a bunch of spells and using them at a time to give you a massive advantage. Because now this setup will punish people for having less units in the deck, and here's what I'm going to mean by that. It's not really easy to see in here specifically, but I'm just going to pull my armies and explain a couple of things to you. So what was changed was before there was normally a queue system where you could build only one unit at a time, with the exception of general units like this one here, which had their own queue for a while, and giants with the monstrosity upgrade, and gave them their own separate queue. But this is how it's changed recently. Now we have 5 separate queues. We have one for miners, which are these two right here. That's for your economy. We have one for light units, which are going to be the Deads, Sickle Wrath, Sword Wrath, Archidons, your Shadow Wrath, and your Eclipsers. You're going to have one for heavy units, which are going to be Spiritans, Toxic Deads, and Giants. You're going to have one for Spellcasters, which is going to be these two right down here. It looks like they've kind of been grouped sort of here. You've got the two Spellcasters here in their own queue. And finally, we have the same queue for general units, which is going to be the Xeric, Xiphos, Kichu, and Atreus. Now, what this means, really, is... take a look at the deck here right now. Let's say I have enough resources to build everything at a time. Like, I've saved up a lot. If the amount of units I could have training at a time are my economy queue, the light queue, the heavy queue, and the general queue. So basically, I can build a miner, an Archidon, a Spiritan, and Xiphos all at the same time. Notice that because the Shadow Wrath and Archidons are both light units, I cannot build these two at the same time. However, I can still build Shadow Wrath at the same time as Spiritans, Enslaved Miners, and Xiphos here. And personally, I think this is a fantastic change that is really going to promote skill-based gameplay rather than largely reliant upon user control and spells or enchantments. Another thing I want to touch on is this kind of punishes people who rely heavily on user control, because I'm no stranger to this myself. If you user control a lot during the match, odds are during that time when you're focusing on controlling that unit, you're going to forget to start queuing up these guys and start building those units. You're going to forget to do that, and that's going to put you at a massive disadvantage, because your opponent could be building 3, 4, even 5 units at the same time now, and you won't be building anything, which is going to be big trouble for you if you're too focused on user controlling. So again, that's a change I really like. This is just a deck that I used in a test match in ranked, and I'll give a little rundown of that quickly here. It was against Snap here. We had a pretty decent match, much better match than what most people have been having in the past month or two. So let's get right into that here. He's using Blazing and Voltaic enchantments, as well as Vault, which I found kind of interesting, because with the multiple queues, Vault isn't really as good anymore, and I just have Glacial as mine, as well as the Tower Spawn. Now, it looks like both of us went for an early Spiritan, which I was expecting him to go early Archer, because that's what pretty much everyone's been doing, and he also had 2 arrow enchantments, but we instead both went for an early Spiritan. He's going to build his faster than mine, because Actually wasn't too sure of how I was structuring this here, but I guess I was just trying to build a Spiriton and the tower spawn at the same time. But now I've got all my miners on gold. He's still got one on crystal, and he's gonna build up his economy now. I'll start building up mine as soon as I get the gold. He's gonna go take tower really quickly and then go back to his base while he builds his economy. And I'm gonna come up there and conveniently at the same time, and I'm gonna take tower, and my Spiriton spawn is gonna come out. As soon as he notices this, I believe he's gonna come after me and try and stop me from doing that. But at that point, I've already had tower. I'm getting my tower spawn. He's gonna have to go back. But it's another thing I noticed is that, as you can see here, he's building a Merrick and an Archidon at the same time. Again, with the new queue system, they've moved Merricks all the way over here between these two, which I kind of found strange. Maybe they'll do something with that later. Maybe it's some sort of visual bug, but that's not very important to the context of the match right now. Alright, so right now he's at a bit more of an advantage than I am. He has, in addition to his Spiriton, a miner, or not a miner, an Archidon and a Merrick. And I'm going to try and stall him long enough here to get another Spiriton spawn, which works. And that's going to force him back. I'm trying to take out his archer, but I do not succeed at that. And while all this is happening, I've built one archer, and I've just been building up my economy slightly. And now I'm going to go for Xiphos, because he's a very strong unit now with 500 health and 30 damage per attack, 35 to heavy units. And I see that he's using Spiritons, so that's going to be pretty essential for me to take out those Spiritons early, because my Spiritons and Archidons aren't going to do much damage to those. Now, he actually manages to take out my entire force here, which I wasn't paying too much attention to, and my Spiritons slowly whittled down by that voltaic damage. Now you can see he's at a pretty high advantage compared to me. He's got two archers, a Spiriton, and a Merrick, and a bunch of miners. And I did just get Xiphos out as well as another Spiriton, so now we are roughly even. I'm just gonna start building up more Archidons and Spiritons for a front line here. He's also building Spiritons, as well as getting his last couple of miners here. And another thing, notice in our decks that neither one of us have a lot of spells in here. Granted, he does have a lot of enchantments in his deck, and I think that might be why he suffered a bit during this match. But he does have pretty much the 40 units he could build at a time, which are the miners, the Archidons, Spiritons, and Merricks. I'm going to have Xiphos here to lead this push. He's going to heal up his Spiriton there with the healing risk, but he's going to have to retreat against two Spiritons, a Shadow Wrath, two Archidons, and Xiphos. Which again, as I covered in my last video, that might not seem like much, but again, with that Tower Spawn Spiriton, that's a pretty formidable fighting force. You can see up here I'm building a Shadow Wrath and Spiriton. Notice that my Archidon didn't start building until my Shadow Wrath was completed. I also have that tier 2 Spiriton spawn. Now I'm going to do a lot of damage to his tower. I figure I have a lot of tanky units to hold up his attacking force here, even with his castle archers, and I figure I can do a major amount of damage, maybe even take out a statue. But he's smart, and he brings up his Spiriton to block my Shadow Wrath from hitting the tower, so I here am forced to retreat. I'm going to lose both of my Shadow Wrath. He's going to heal his Spiriton. Xiphos got taken out, and I also lost that Spiriton. So I'm just down to the Spiriton, Shadow Wrath, and 3 archers that I just built up. I can't repel a force of this size, so I'm going to be forced to retreat here. And he's going to be able to take tower. I see this. I'm going to start building up beefy units with my Spiritons and Shadow Wrath to hopefully hold off his army before he builds too many Spiritons here to take up the front line and protect his Archidons. Because Archidons are annoying when you have tanks in front of them and they're able to put shots on your army or even your statue for a very long time. So that's what I'm doing right here now, is building up those units. I have 3 shadows. I figure that's enough for the time. I have 3 Spiritans, and I'm building my 3rd archer. So I have a pretty balanced force going on here. He's going to take a push here with his 6 archers and 3 Spiritans, as well as 2 Merrics. So obviously, oh, actually no, he's going to go pull back. I'm guessing he just pushed forward a bit to see what I had in my forces, is probably what he did. And now he has 3 Merrics. Now he's going to do the push, I believe. And I'm going to respond to this by counterattacking and sending my miners to garrison to get those castle archers. His healing wisp is going to keep his Spiriton alive against those castle archers, but that only lasts for so long. I'm going to garrison this one Shadow Wrath before it dies, because Shadow Wrath are expensive units and they're not very good to lose. But I was able to successfully repel this attack with my combination of Shadows and Spiritons, as well as my archers just taking shots at him. Even with those Merrics using projectile barrier, I was able to wipe out most of his army there, because he did not have enough of a force to take out my defending units as well as those castle archers. Now he's in a bad spot. I have twice the population he has right now, and as soon as that Spiriton spawn comes in, I'm gonna go for that all-out rush to take out his tower. He does an amiable job of defending, even sacrificing his miners to stall me for as long as possible, hopefully to force me to push back before I can take out his tower. But only issue with that is I have like 4 or 5 Spiritons up there with a lot of hit points, and with his Spiritons and Archidons, he can't do that much damage to my Spiritons, especially since he doesn't have any miners inside the castle garrison. So he's going to take a long time to damage my Spiritons. He's going to try and hold me off as long as possible with his 2 Merrics and projectile barrier. I just kind of pop mass heal to keep my Shadow Wrath alive, because I wasn't really keeping track of how much health he had. But this is where the point where his front line finally crumbles, and I am able to take his statue for the win. But overall, yes, this was a very nice game, much better than the ones lately that have been mostly focused on 1 or 2 units and a bunch of spells and enchantments. And I think this is a step in the right direction for Stick War 3's multiplayer. Can't wait to see what else the devs are going to add, and I feel like the multiplayer, again, is at a much healthier spot than it was before. But that's going to really be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any ideas I can try, or anything else you want me to do. Maybe you have some ideas for me to do on Stick War Legacy. Again, I have that game as well, and that's pretty fun. But other than that, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching.